This is the ultimate Fire Mage guide for Phase 2 of Season of Discovery, giving you everything you need to know. Hello, my name is Javier, and my goal is to make World of Warcraft a lot easier for you. Looking at the stat priority then, first and foremost, we're going to want hit chance, then it's going to be crit, which is really useful for Fire Mages. After that, at an equal rate, we're going to want either spell power or fire damage. Basically, then this is on a 1-to-1 ratio, so whichever you can get that has the most is generally going to be better. I'm going to be showing you the Pre-Bis and Biz gear that you should be getting anyway, so stay with me and you'll be in good hands. After that, then it's just going to be intellect, and finally spirit is going to be our lowest priority. Looking at the build then, we're going to put 5 out of 5 into improved fireball, reducing the cast time of our fireball spell by 0.5 seconds. We're going to put 5 out of 5 into ignite. Our critical strikes from our fire damage spells are going to cause a burn on the target for 40% of the damage done over 4 seconds. Going on to the next row, we're going to put 2 points into increasing the critical strike chance of our Fire Blast and Scorch, putting 1 point into Pyroblast, and then 2 points into improved Fire Blast, reducing the cooldown by 1 second on that spell. And we are going to be using Fire Blast on cooldown. Going down, we're going to put 3 into improved Scorch, where our Scorch spells have a 100% chance to cause our target to be vulnerable to fire damage. This vulnerability increases the fire damage dealt to your target by 3% and lasts 30 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. What you want to do with this is get those stacks up on your target and keep them there. This is a really good priority at making sure we're dealing as much damage as we can to the target. We're also going to put 3 out of 3 into Master of the Elements, meaning that our crits are going to refund 30% of our mana. 1 point into Blast Wave. This is a really good AoE spell that we can use when we need to do a lot of AoE in fire. A wave of flame radiates out. It's on a 45-second cooldown, damaging all enemies caught within it and dazing them as well. We're then going to put 3 points into Critical Mass, increasing our crit strike by a whopping 6%. 5 out of 5 into Firepower, increasing the damage done by 10%, and then 1 into Combustion, which when activated on a 3-minute cooldown, is going to increase our critical strike damage by strike chance by 10% for each time we hit the target, and that's actually going to last until we've crit with 3 fire spells. That takes us to 40 out of 40 talent points, or level 40 on talent points, and now we're going to go on to the runes, choosing Burnout on the chest. This increases our crit with all spells by a whopping 15%. But non-periodic spell critical strikes now have an additional mana cost of 1% of base mana. On the legs, we're going for Living Flame. Use this on cooldown as well. Summons a Spellfire Flame that moves toward the target, leaving a trail of Spellfire. This deals loads of damage to nearby enemies. It's not really like an AoE spell unless you can line your enemies up, but we should be using it on cooldown anyway because it's just really good at doing damage, basically. We're going to put Living Bomb on the hand rune, and we're going to use this again on cooldown on the target, keeping it up on them. The target becomes a Living Bomb, taking damage over 12 seconds. After 12 seconds, when the spell is dispelled, the target explodes, doing a lot more damage within 10 yards. On the waist, then it's going to be Hot Streak. Anytime you score 2 non-periodic spell criticals in a row, using Fireball, Fire Blast, Scorch, or Living Bomb, your next Pyroblast spell cast within 10 seconds will be instant. Whenever this procs, that is when we're going to be using our Pyroblast, making sure we're using all of our instant Pyroblasts when we can. Outside of that, I would advise using things like Scorch to keep up that vulnerability, and then your Fire Blast, etc. And using Fire Blast on cooldown, and then using your Fireball as a kind of filler spell, using the Living Flame on cooldown as well. It's a pretty straightforward rotation in that sense. It's more of like which ones can we use in which priority, with keeping Fire Blast on cooldown, Pyroblast instance, keeping that vulnerability from Scorch up, using Living Bomb and Living Flame on cooldown and keeping that up as well. And then on the foot rune, we're just going to use Spell Power, which increases the crit strike damage bonus of all spells by 50%, which evidently is why it is so important that we get as much crit as possible, because when we do crit, the damage of that is going to go crazy. Looking at the pre-biz list, I'm not going to go through every minute detail of this. Do subscribe below, however, because I don't want you to miss out on the upcoming biz and pre-biz gear video that I do have coming out for mages. This is also going to include leveling gear, etc, and I am going to do leveling guides as well. But these are some of the ones that you can get that are going to be very useful to us. Anything on the auction house that has Fiery Wrath on it is going to be really good for fire damage when you're coming up to 40. Tailoring also has some fantastic items, as you can see here. And especially on things like the rings, you can see there's a ton of PvP ones that are really, really useful. There is also this quest, Mage's Wand, from Tabitha in Dustwallow Marsh. She gives you an option of 3 different wands that you can get, and these are going to be really, really useful for mages. If you are obviously in fire, we're going to take the Rage Fire wand from that one. Going into more detail then, looking at the actual biz list, we're going to go for the Neuro-Linked Arcano Filament Monocle on the head. This is from Tailoring, and it is an epic quest line, just like we had with the extra planar boots in Phase 1. I actually don't know the quest line yet and what we need to do to get this. It's not really been discovered, but when it is, I guarantee you I will be doing a guide instantly. So please, again, do make sure you watch out for that. But I don't actually know the quest line yet, but it is from Tailoring, and it is going to be an epic quest line. Again, this is really, really amazing. It's going to reduce the spell of all costs on mana by 50%, while also increasing our spell damage massively as well. And that's on use on a 10-minute cooldown, and gives us some MP5 intellect and damage and healing. Piston Pendant is from Nomagun, really quite self-explanatory on that one. Same with the Synthetic Mantle. Blood Woven Cloak is a BOE, and you want to get this with fire damage on, okay? And this is best in slot. If you then want a different option, you can get the Blood Rot or Blood Drenched from the Stranglethorn Vale PvP event, which is where it's every 3 hours for 30 minutes. That's fairly straightforward if you can't get the BOE off the auction house. The Irradiated Robe, this is a really great set on the chest, legs, and feet, increasing our crit strike, which is obviously fantastic for us as fire mages, and also increasing our damage done by spells and increasing some intellect, etc. Dryad's Wrist Bindings are from Exalted with the Warsong Outriders. Now, these are best in slot. However, if you're like, I'm just not going to get them, then I would go for the Phoenix Bindings from Nomagun, increasing fire spells by 13. However, these ones do increase it by 16. So if you do want to, slog it out for that Exalted reputation, it is going to be slightly worth it. Just depends how much you want to min-max. Staff of the Evil Genius on the staff then, improving hit by 1% and damage and healing by up to 20. This is really good. Dreamweave Gloves are from Tailoring. Again, self-explanatory on those. They're a BOE. Hyperconductive Gold Wrap. Now, this is a really interesting one. This is engineering. So you may want to take engineering as well. Now, it doesn't look like you can probably take both. So it is dependent on, I think, if you are taking Tailoring or not. So if you are not taking Tailoring, you can take this one. Again, looking at a true biz, I would say go with the Tailoring and then use the Volatile Concoction belt from Nomagun on the belt. But I want to give you guys options because it is about having fun and it's not all about min-maxing every single thing we can. To some of you it may be, and that's why I'm doing this list. But to some of you, it may just be about having fun. So I want to make sure I'm kind of catering to everyone as much as possible here. So to say what this does then, you flip a heads or tails on the belt because it's like a coin belt, I guess. And then if you get a heads, you get 3% crit for 30 seconds. On a tails, it's 10% movement speed, and it also increases your hit and crit anyway. Irradiated trousers and boots are the same as the chest piece I showed you from Nomagun. Ember Blood Seal is a unique equipped ring, and this is from the PvP event again. So you are going to have to do PvP if you do want biz. This increases damage done by fire spells specifically by 16, and it's really, really good. And then another unique equipped ring is the one from Nomagun, the Conflagration one, increasing intellect, nature, and arcane resistance, which will be great in Nomagun, and increases damage and healing of spells by 11 and gives you some MP5. For the trinket then, we've got the miniaturized combustion chamber. When you use this, you can channel between 1 to 150 health into 1 to 150 mana. That's on a 30-minute cooldown, so use this sparingly. And then it's also going to increase damage done by 12. Invoker's Void Pearl from Season 1 is still really... Phase 1, is really good. This is from Akame on the last boss of BFD, and you then go to Thunder Bluff or somewhere else for the Alliance and hand that in and choose your one. If you were doing Mage Healer in Phase 1 and now want to do DPS, you can trade this in for the DPS one, which is the one I've shown here, for 75 gold in Booty Bay. And then... you can get the Umbral Wand with fire damage on it for the wand. Or you've got things like Jaina's Fire Starter, which is a world drop. There's the Meccano Strider Gear Shifter. That's not too bad. However, the Mage's Wand quest is going to be the absolute best, increasing damage done by fire spells. Specifically, that's the one from Tabitha, remember, in Dustwallow Marsh. That is going to be the best of the best. Something else that's really useful they've added in Phase 2 of SoD is actually skill books. And for mages, we have the expanded Intellect one. This is going to decrease the mana cost of Arcane Intellect by 50% and increase its duration by 50%, which is a really big quality of life improvement, and this can be gained from dungeons. On to consumables. Greater mana potions are going to be good for mana, and we can also get the Lesser Arcane Elixir or Elixir of Firepower. The Elixir of Firepower is going to increase fire damage by up to 10 for 30 minutes. However, the Lesser Arcane Elixir is going to increase all spell damage by up to 14 for 30 minutes. And these are both really, really good options on here. Regarding the actual food you're going to be taking, you can either go for the Sagefish Delight if you feel like you need some mana. Ideally, I would go for the Spider Sausage, which is gained from white spider meat. If you don't have a lot of gold, it's very easy farmable. And same like the mana potions, they should be quite cheap this season, this phase. The spider sausage you can get from Duskmallow Marsh Spiders, northwest near the cave up there. Go in from the Barrens and just go north and you'll find them. It's just past the Ogre encampment. And this is going to give you 12 stamina and spirit. They're very easy to farm at about level 36 to 38. So at 40, you've got no issue at all farming these, or just buy them off the auction house. There's a Kodo Stew, etc., which does the same one. If you notice, there's a few of them. They're the exact same thing. It's just different variations. You can get the recipe from just Stormwind or Orgrimmar. And that's it, guys. You now know how to play Fire Mage in Season of Discovery. If you would like an Arcane and Frost video, let me know as well. I do think that Fire is going to be the way to go in Season Discovery Phase 2. However, again, I want to make sure that I'm covering everything for everyone, and that, you know, the specs we're playing are not just like the best of the best, but also just really, really fun, especially in these level up raids we're doing. And speaking of that, if you would like to actually raid with me, I have now got my own guild on the Wild Growth EU server. So do join my Discord if you're interested in that. We will, of course, be raiding Nomagon. And if you are just looking for questions or to join on leveling or play with other players, whether it's retail, classic or Wattalk, then do please join my Discord, because we have a really knowledgeable community who are very beginner friendly. There's lots of veterans as well. And you can also join my Patreon or click the join button down below to join my YouTube members, where you get a ton of extra benefits as well, like one-to-one tickets with me in Discord and a secret channel where you can get help from me directly with things like setting up all of your UI, importing my UI, or having feedback from things like logging and simming, etc.